Hey guys, it's Jim, welcome back to another podcast special, and in this video we're going to be talking about Sea of Love from 1989, starring Al Pacino, Ellen Barkin and John Goodman, directed by Harold Becker. Now this is a movie that really does go under the radar. Obviously I'm a massive Pacino fan, it just seems to be one of those ones where I never got around to it. I never took the time. But you know, I'll always take a downbeat cop thriller with Al Pacino, and that's what this movie is. Basically tells the story of a New York City cop trying to catch a serial killer who finds victims through the singles column in a newspaper, which is a very interesting plot. We think of today's dating as like dangerous and the worst it's ever been, I guess, in terms of connection. But when you think about it here, like the way it's depicted here, where people are just writing that column and circling it and phoning up that person, if anything it was worse back here. Like it was crazier back here, like there was more risk to it back here, there was more chance of getting hurt back here. It's an interesting take on mixing the kind of dating game with this terrifying serial killer plot. Like this really could have happened. And Al Pacino plays Frank Keller, who he's burnt out, he's an alcoholic. This is basically Al Pacino's character in Heat. It's basically the same character, but Heat came after this, so Heat kind of repeated this. And this was obviously around the time when Pacino was constantly playing these policemen. He just, of course, played Frank Serpico. Certainly had a special way, Pacino, of playing desperate, struggling, burned out policemen. He just did. So why not carry on having him do it? He's seen so much. In this, you learn that he's a 20-year veteran, and it's all coming on top of him. But it's like routine to him. Like he has an argument with someone whilst they're leaning over a dead body early on in this film. Like he's so used to it, and he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know how to be, and he has a bad opinion of himself as a policeman because he's seen so much horror in this city, and he doesn't like himself. He doesn't like what a policeman has made him into, this kind of person who backs away from everyone, who doesn't believe that he actually does good. He's hard on himself, and no one wants to settle down with a policeman. He's had bad luck in relationships. And it's just a constant stress for this character. But again, I just love the moody, downbeat Al Pacino films. But one thing you can add to this is John Goodman playing the fellow detective on the case. And that gives the film a certain levity, a certain positivity that it's missing. So this isn't necessarily completely a morbid film. Again, it's a very human film. A very nice film in moments. There's lots of moments away from the negativity where these characters can have a laugh and be jovial with each other.
I wanna tell you something's gonna come off like that. Something's gotta come off.
And it's a surprisingly good relationship in this. Pacino and John Goodman, they're two actors I wouldn't necessarily put together. But John Goodman's incredibly likeable in this. He just feels like an everyman, just feels very welcoming. And Frank needs a cop like that to work with. So they have that nice back and forth because he kind of keeps Frank going. He keeps Frank from slipping down that path. And he respects Frank. There's a mutual respect between these two cops, and it's nice to see. In a lot of these films you will get characters who no one can trust anyone. But I feel like very much Sea of Love is about Frank learning that he can trust people and that he can work with people. So Frank starts going on undercover dates with Lonely Hearts women to try and catch this woman who is shooting her victims after sleeping with them. He has to cycle through these women, and it's entertaining. You feel bad for him because he's just doing his job, but you feel bad for the women. Incredible this people used to go on these blind dates like this. I think it was probably a lot more dangerous back here than it is today. Ellen Barkin plays Helen, who is one of the women who Frank meets, and they don't get on at first, and Frank suspects that she might be the killer, but then they slowly get closer, and this is a great relationship. This is a really human relationship. Again, Frank gets some hope in the darkness from this woman, but always underneath the surface he has to ask himself, is this the killer? So it's a very interesting relationship because he'll get close to her, and it's like there's a love trying to break through between these two characters, but you never know again whether Frank can trust her, but you hope that he can. And watching this, I was full of that hope that Frank could trust Helen. It's a lovely little relationship that you really hope comes through. But, you know, does it? I won't spoil that. But there's a fantastic moment where they come back to Frank's apartment, and Frank sees a gun in her bag while she's in the bathroom, and Al Pacino flips out. Great Pacino mannerisms, great Pacino lines in this, great Pacino panic and, you know, tension that he has and stress. But then you find out that she wasn't going to do anything with that gun, and Frank has to apologise to her, but it's always underneath the surface that there's this killer on the loose. And is she the killer? And is he being too suspicious of her than he should be? And is she being too obvious, or is she hiding something? Like, it's a fascinating relationship, and it's full of pulling back the curtain of the other person, slowly but surely getting to know the other person, for better or for worse. And I think Ellen Barkin was a great performance here. Again, you never know if you can trust her, but she's very entertaining, and she has a lot of great chemistry with Pacino. It really is the idea of lost people in a corrupt city trying to find some hope and future in another person. It's always that idea of, is the city too far gone? Is there too much that goes into living in this city with this much crime? Is there too much that goes into Frank's career where he just cannot settle down and no one can understand him? It's all about that, you know, some wonderful back and forths between Frank and Helen, where Frank tries to tell her what his life entails as a policeman, and again it comes with that great Pacino delivery.
Let me tell you something about this. All these people in here with their rocks and their furs, they get robbed, they get raped, and all of a sudden they're daddy. See, come the wet-ass hour, I'm everybody's daddy.
I always feel like Pacino really did understand police work. I feel like he did understand it as an actor, because he seems so wonderfully able to relate to that desperation and that stress of being a police officer. There's another moment where he says, this city, what it does to people, makes you think like an animal. Lovely little moments, little lines from Frank, where he just reflects on what he's seen in this city. Interestingly, I haven't seen any films by director Harold Becker, but he's done a lot, and he's done another Al Pacino film, City Hall, but this is the only Harold Becker film I've seen. For me, he's kind of going for a bit of Brian De Palma stuff here, but in his own way, this is a lot more of a character-based film than some of De Palma's movies. Obviously, no knock on De Palma, he's great at characters, he's great at everything. He's going for the ideas of a Brian De Palma film, but he's almost delivering a melodrama. It's all about the character interactions, it's all about Frank, you know, he's at the centre of this. It's all about, will he see it through? It's all about that relationship slowly but surely building with this lady. It's all about the back and forth between him and John Goodman. It is kind of a thriller meets a melodrama. It is like a film noir. It's all about what will the characters do, where will the characters turn up, who can trust who. And, you know, I do think Harold Becker, while giving us some positivity in this, also leaves room for it could all fall apart at any moment. There are not many actors in existence today who can garner the effect of Al Pacino. I can't think of many. There's something special. There was something special about these films. There was something special about the 70s and 80s. They came from a different place, these films. They delivered in a different way. You don't get thrillers like this anymore. You don't get them. You don't get honesty like this anymore. You don't get real expressions from directors much anymore.
I mean, there's certain things, you know, a cop's eyes, what we see, you know, there's you, what you see, which is like nothing, and our eyes, you know, our life, what we see.
It is quite a sexual film, you know. Of course, this killer's killing people after she sleeps with them. There are some sexual scenes in this, and the idea that the killer plays the record Sea of Love after every kill just gives it this weird aura of romantic passion to it. And it's interesting because it's mixed with this real desperate and isolated feeling and intense ideas of loneliness and trying to find something, trying to find someone So I think when it's there, the little moments of sexual passion are very powerful. You should definitely check out Sea of Love. It's one of the most underrated Al Pacino performances. It is a fantastic piece of work. Again, Al Pacino is on top form. The ideas are there. The pace is there. The film really goes by well. It's a very, very, very tight script. And it's good to see John Goodman in a very random role and actually nailing it in a great buddy cop dynamic. And Ellen Barkin is clearly an underrated actress because she holds her own going back and forth with Al Pacino. Definitely check it out if you're an Al Pacino fan, and definitely check out some more of my Al Pacino reviews on this channel. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to this channel. I talk about these sorts of films very often, do these podcast specials, also talk about other movie geek content. Thanks for watching, everyone. I will see you guys next time.